Oh, that's right. Welcome in, welcome back, everybody, to a Closing the Gap and Other Assorted Notre Dame Topics edition of the Always Irish Morning Show. Happy to be here. Happy to have you here. How about this? Let's start the day with this. A little rhyme from John on a Friday morning. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Beat the hell out of the boys from Ohio. How do we like that? Look at that. We're combining a couple different things there. How about that for Cinco de Mayo? Beat them boys from Ohio. Welcome in, everybody. It's always good to be here on a Friday. I don't know where you're at. The weather's turning a little bit here in Illinois. Better enjoy the sun for 3 minutes while we have it before it changes. Oh, man. Thanks for being here, everybody. Do subscribe. The program's on YouTube. Most of you know that by now. If you haven't subscribed, you're here every day. I don't know what you're doing. I really don't. Give the video a thumbs up. That helps me as well. Notifications on. That way you're alerted every time new Notre Dame information drops. And I got news for you. That's often. Too often. Too often. Anytime. Listen, I don't know if it's like this for you guys. Anytime I'm sitting there and my phone vibrates. I don't do ringtones. I don't do ringtones. I haven't for like 20 years. They're annoying. Unless you're the chief fire guy, police guy, or a surgeon. Nobody needs their phone on ring. You're not that important that you're somewhere and the phone's ringing in a restaurant and I got to hear it because somebody wants to talk to you. Socially irresponsible. So vibrate only for Johnny for the last 20 years. I'm sitting here, my phone's going nuts over and over and over. And then what that tells me is two things. One, somebody I know has died. Or number two, something bad's going on with Notre Dame. When I pick up my phone, I get 22 messages. It only means two things. Somebody I care about's dead again. Not the same person dead again. A different person dead, but the same kind of message. Or John, something bad happened with Notre Dame. I never get a string of messages telling me good Notre Dame news. It's only the bad. Oh, this is off to a rip-roaring start. Welcome in, everybody, on a Friday. Jeez. Call-in line. 312-988-15. You tell Johnny all you've heard and seen. Listen, I say this all the time now that we're in the off season. Open forum. Like, I'm going to have topics to kind of provide a skeleton for these shows. But I really, really want you guys to know it's an open forum. That phone line is whatever's rolling around in your Notre Dame brain this offseason. You got to give me a call, get it off your chest. So I want to be very clear. While I usually have these general avenues of topics, we could go anywhere you want. That's the point of the phone line. It is for that purpose. So feel free to do that. Couple other notes before we get into this. Here's one. And it kind of goes with what I just said. And I mean this sincerely. I want people that call in on the phone line, push back on me. If I put out an article on Irish Wire or I do a video that you don't agree with, call me and push back on me. That's also what this is for. And I'm not going to be like a jerk or whatever, but I want people to feel free. If you disagree with me, just because it's my show, it's not going to make me not want to take your calls anymore. So I want to make sure you all know that that's totally fine with me. If you love Notre Dame, you like my show, but you disagree with the take, call me. That's great content. Other people would want to hear us debate philosophy with Notre Dame or approach or even existentialism with Notre Dame, where we're going in the new playoff era. Whatever it is, if you disagree with me on my old Kelly stuff, I don't care. But it's important to me that you guys know that avenue is always open for you. Use it, okay? I mean that. And then here's something else you're going to like. We're going live Saturday night after dark again. We're doing it. The people liked it. They want more. We're going live again tomorrow night. So we're going to do a Saturday night after dark. And I got news for you. I got some special treats planned. Here's one thing I'm going to say about Always Irish After Dark, though. We're going to clean it up a little bit. I'm going to be alone tomorrow night, but from the host end and the caller end, I'm just going to request that maybe we clean up the language a little bit. I know that's hard late at night on a Saturday. A lot of things go in your mouth and then certain things fly out that people aren't even realizing fly out. I get it. Saturday nights lend themselves to that. But we're going to try, and I'm just putting it out there in the ether. Maybe we try and tone down some of the language to keep Johnny in good status with YouTube and family friendly for people like it. You get what I'm saying. But we're going to do that. I'll put out an official link letting people know what time and all that. I'll put that together tonight, probably put it out first thing in the morning. But Saturday night after dark is happening again. And I got a couple treats for the crowd. Let's just put it that way. Those Saturday nights are good. They're turning into Saturday Night Live almost, where you could format it a little different and be a little fun with it. And it flies because it's Saturday night, baby. Live from Saturday night. It's John's basement. Oh, my God. All right. We got a bunch of super chats. And I got to get to all those before I forget. It's my number one priority if somebody donates to give them the attention they deserve and the credit for their comment. And I'm still bothered. Monday, I missed one, a $10 holler, and I missed announcing it. It's been bugging me ever since. That's inappropriate and rude on my part. And I'm going to try and make sure I don't miss any. Sorry about that. All right. Couple topics I just want to throw in the ether. We're going to get to the chats, and we do already have phone calls, which is a beautiful setup for a Friday. Okay. I put out my article on Notre Dame and NBC negotiations for the upcoming contract. Notre Dame wants $75 million, up from 22 where it is now on the backloaded contract. Let me know if you agree with that, if you disagree with my take, if you think Notre Dame's asking for too much, where you want them to go. If NBC doesn't play ball with Notre Dame, wherever you want to go, we could go. The other thing, I didn't even get into it that much Wednesday because the show took off. The Chancey Stuckey deal, he's doing a great job. Keep him around. I don't feel like yelling again and questioning whether Notre Dame's fully invested in supporting. I don't want to do all that. Pay the man and keep him here so he doesn't leave. He's doing a great job. I got some quarterback stuff still I'm just going to have to talk through some of it with you guys. From our end, from Buckner's end, I got to talk through stuff that doesn't make sense to me. So we're going to go over that as well. And then the talent gap thing, the Jamie Uyama article from ISD, Irish Sports Daily, looking at closing that talent gap with, we'll get there. It's unbelievable when you see what has happened. And there's a lot of work to do. So we could shoot to any of those topics. We could go anywhere else. Let me get the super chats, and then we'll go right to the calls. There's some people that want to get in early and get on with their day. I'm going to be better about accommodating that before I talk forever. Look at this $20 holler from Eric. With no Buckner, Hartman's Heisman chances go up significantly. Sam gets 100% of red zone snaps, more TDs, no gimmick plays for Tyler, breaks the flow anyways. More passing yards for Sam, 4,040 in New York, baby. All right. Couple things here for the $20 holler. Here's number one is Eric's my favorite lawyer. So whenever the next time I get sued, I'm having Eric defend me. We're on the same page with a lot of things. He thinks with the Notre Dame brain, football brain on the mind. The next time I get sued, I'm having Eric represent me. And I say next time because I already been sued once. I got sued at my last job from somebody who was extorting the company I worked for, which was a religious organization, by the way, a diocese, suing them from something that happened in the 70s that they made up to extort us for $250,000. And since I was running the office then, my name was right number one on the lawsuit. Even though they were alleging something that happened in the 70s, my name's on it. I had to go give all these statements, prove the guy wrong. I was so mad about all of it. And they were just trying to extort us. Give us $250,000 or we're going to WGN. You're going to be on the Chicago News doing our family wrong. And they totally made it up, but I had to go through all this stuff, giving depositions. Oh, what happened this day? What happened? I had to do all this stuff just to prove these people were extorting us. After all of that, the judge threw the case out. John emerged victorious. But anyways, I got a lot of scar tissue from all the stress of that. I'm calling Eric. I'm calling Eric. Help me out the next time it happens. Unbelievable. It's not good to get that 2-inch thing in your office, the hand delivered to you, and it's a big lawsuit saying all the things you allegedly did before I was born. Yeah, I'm still mad about it. Here's my thought about Eric's thought. How the times have changed in Notre Dame land. We went from, can we have a quarterback that could throw the ball over past the line of scrimmage, over the tall guys to even get it to our players? We went from that to Heisman, baby. Unbelievable. But that's how fast things change in college football. We went for most of last year not having a guy we trusted to be able to do much, passing the ball, to this. So here's the reality. If you look at the gap between the quarterback play we had last year, most weeks, and whatever Heisman level quarterback play is to you, picture it in your mind, whatever Heisman level quarterbacking is, the USC guy, Williams, whatever it is. Picture in your mind whatever Heisman level quarterback play looks like to you. Anywhere Hartman falls between whatever Pine was and Heisman is going to be a big jump for Notre Dame. Even if he doesn't quite get to that level, by the way, got to stay healthy. Got to stay healthy. Eric, I love where Eric's mind is here. Got to stay healthy all year or your whole plan gets messed up. I'm down with you. You don't got to play those games. If now you got to keep Buckner engaged and have plays for him and risk breaking rhythm, but you got to keep him happy so he doesn't leave. You're right. We're avoiding all that. It's Sam Hartman's show, but he's got to stay healthy. And again, my point is, looking at the high end, which is Heisman, even if Hartman isn't there, anywhere he's going to fall if he's healthy is a significant improvement for Notre Dame's offense. Sets us up for a great year. Here's the other one. All right, let me paint you a scenario, Notre Dame fans. Let's say Notre Dame starts out hot. Navy, Tennessee State, NC State, Central. Things are going good. Notre Dame, those are some weaker opponents. In theory, NC State's going to be tricky. I think we all agree on that just because whatever. Let's say we look hot in those games. You are looking at Heisman showcase against Ohio State. Let's say Hartman does good there. Can you imagine a scenario where Hartman and Notre Dame is hot and USC and Williams is hot and then they come to our place? That's where Eric's thing comes full. So in a perfect Notre Dame world, which it never is, not in my existence anyways, in a perfect world, we look great, run that all the way to USC, and then you have a Heisman showcase off between those two quarterbacks. I don't usually dream with Notre Dame on the high end, but that would be it. That would be it. We got a $5 holler. Paul Conley with the $5 holler. Good morning to you, John the Great. I don't know about that, but I'm going to take it. Like to hear the coaches are out recruiting hard now. Freeman effect, go Irish. It's a good thing Notre Dame has Marcus Freeman. In my opinion, it's never been harder to recruit to Notre Dame now. Between NIL, the way others are able to use the transfer portal and we're not, and the small net in regular recruiting, and then the issue of having to re-recruit your own guys so they don't leave once they're in your building, it's never been harder to recruit in college football for anybody, especially at Notre Dame. If you don't have somebody like Freeman with the engine he has for recruiting, Notre Dame would be dead. I'm serious. If the further we get down this path, the more aggressive Notre Dame's coaches have to be to even keep us in the mix because how wild it's getting. If you didn't have a guy with the engine for recruiting Freeman as, it's uh-oh time. So thank your lucky stars. We have him. Even the guys he's missing or whatever he's got us in it for, like you need a guy with that aggression in recruiting or we're dead, especially these days. Thanks for the $5 holler, Paul. Oh, man. What do we got? T-Rex, good morning to you, John. To close the gap, you need 3 legit 5 stars to commit each year. In addition, what ND's been doing, it can be done. 5-star superstar athletes can be superstars in the classroom. Yeah, they can be. It's a matter of getting them to come here. That's the problem. When you look at the top end of the class last year that fell apart, Bowen could get into Notre Dame. Dante could get into Notre Dame. Keeley could get into Notre Dame. So that wasn't an issue. That's a part of the reason those hurt me so much personally, is because they actually threaded the needle and found top end guys that also could get into Notre Dame. That should be Notre Dame's sweet spot. Finding the guys that have the grades and can get into Notre Dame and are interested and are 5-star guys, that's Notre Dame's sweet spot. If you can't close on that, you're double dead. There's already all that pool of 5 stars that Notre Dame can't even go after because the grades aren't going to work and you know it right away. Whoop, cross them off the list. Now you got a smaller pool you're swimming in. The ones that are smart, good families, and 5-star. That's Notre Dame's bread and butter. If you ain't getting them, you're in trouble. I'm sorry. I love the Irish. You're in trouble. So if Notre Dame could add, even starting out, 1 5-star on 24, say 1 5-star on offense that can play early, 1 on defense that can play early, and then you pad it with those 4-star guys and all that depth, and it's more 4 stars than 3. That's at least progress. It's not a finished product, but that would be progress. But you got to start closing on some of those upper level guys or you're screwed. You just are. I'm sorry. And we'll get into that talent gap article. It'll make you sick to your freaking stomach. It will. I'm telling you. All right, a couple more super chats, and then we're going to get to the phones. I made these guys wait, and I apologize for it. Good morning, John, and always Irish Nation. Greetings from the site of the famous Blue Field, home of the Boise State Broncos. Telling you, that thing has me, every time you watch a Boise game, it has me calling the retina specialist the next minute. I hate it when they're wearing the blue and then they wear the blue jerseys. Oh, how sneaky. I couldn't see you there. I hate it. Seriously, it makes me think I'm colorblind. I'm looking at the TV. Something wrong with my eyes? Oh, man. What do we got here from Mike? I like that TDJ with some clouds in the background. That's beautiful. Everybody's discussed and overanalyzed every angle what Hartman will bring to ND this season and even his Heisman chances. But no one cares about that. He's here to get us a natty, period. Those are lofty Notre Dame goals we have. Here's a question for the group. I don't think I've asked it. Do you think Notre Dame's a playoff team next year if Hartman stays healthy? Let me give you that caveat. If Hartman stays in one piece, do you think that's in the cards for Notre Dame on the high end if things go well and you have good health? I'm genuinely wondering where the group thinks the high end potential of this team's going to be next year. Let me know. Yeah, exactly. Phil agrees with me. It does make your eyes hurt. It's really annoying. It's a bad TV product. I hate it. It's awful. $2 holler from Stephen Arado. Go Irish. Leading the way, our fearless leader. I don't know who came up with that. I don't know where I'm going to lead you, but we're all going together, apparently. I don't know where we're going, but we're doing it. Oh, man. Look at this $5 holler from Adam Dowling. You know what, though? The Dowlings are a bad influence. On the Saturday night show, wasn't just Adam calling in and getting Pat all worked up. Adam's wife was in the chat, donated $100 on a dare to young Patrick. Like, you guys are stirring it up. The Dowlings like to cause trouble here. Oh, my God. They were trying to get things going. Oh, look at this. We got another $10 holler. I appreciate it. V1 rotate V2. I feel bad for Mayer. We all know if he played for a team like Georgia or Ohio State or Bama, you would have been a first round 10 to 15 pick. Same reason why he didn't win the tight end award, because he plays for ND. Ultimately, I think he did end up in a good place. The one thing he loses out on is, I believe there are draft bonuses guaranteed if you're a first rounder. And so even though it was like early in the next round or whatever, that is unfortunate because you get that guarantee if you're in the first round. And then you have the typical Notre Dame thing. It just seems like people are quick to question Notre Dame guys in the draft every year. I don't know if they run out of things to talk about or what they do. that they got to drop the Notre Dame guys, start questioning. Kyle Hamilton, they were questioning. Everybody wants to question the Notre Dame guys at the end. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they default back to look at the team overall. Notre Dame never wins anything. It must just not be an elite group. I don't know what it is. And then you have the recruiting angle of it where guys commit to Notre Dame and then the next rankings come up and they drop like a freaking rock. You got to explain that to me. There's no football going on, and these guys drop like a rock in the rankings once they commit to Notre Dame. I don't get it. I don't get it, and I don't like it. I genuinely don't understand that trend. Oh, man. All right. I got caught up a little bit. We'll go back to some of those chats. We got a couple calls. I'm going to do that, and then we will get into the closing the gap. Oh my God. It raises my blood pressure even reading the title of it. 818, you're on the air, my friend.
818 had to get his life straight due to what happened on the April 22nd date where my fate didn't go so great. When I arrived to the Blue Gold game late and filled my heart rate with hate. But now I'm back, mate.
All right.
That's right.
Okay. All right. Now, here's number one is I'm really glad to hear from you. And I sincerely, listen, buddy, I sincerely apologize and feel bad. Your blue and gold weekend did not turn out the way you planned. I was not in a position to be able to help more with it. I'm glad to hear from you, man. I feel bad about that. You had a bad weekend.
Oh my God. Yeah, but how was that rhyme? You know, you mentioned you had a rhyme to begin with. I was writing this thing down 15 minutes.
Look at you. You're like Tupac in the studio. Tupac in the studio, writing down his lyrics, and you go in and let it rip, huh?
But John, the point is, that's how our minds think. You and I's minds. I can't tell you how many times you'll say something like, "Oh my God, I was just thinking that 10 minutes ago."
Yeah, well, I don't know if that's good or bad. That might be a bad thing if you're thinking what I'm thinking. You ever look at it that way? Maybe we both have the same problem.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Hey.
Listen, yeah, a lot. It just was so ironic. I mean, it's weird, John, because I avoided disaster. I won't even go into it. We'll talk about that later at some other point. Yeah, texting or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting to the game, isn't that just synonymous with Notre Dame football, though? I mean, think about it. You know, it's like just how. And you know what? Right after that day, there was so much bad luck or bad juju in the air for a couple weeks. I'm like, sure. And so I just avoided everything. I'm like, I'm not even gonna
touch it. Yeah. Yeah. Let it
even touch. That's why I didn't call in. I'm like,
that's perfect.
Too much bad luck. And then I started seeing all the recruits coming in. And I'm like, you know, and commitments. I'm like, all right, things seem to be coming back the other way a little bit. Now it's time to, you know, call in again.
I like that. I like that. You're playing it out, letting the bad juju go down before you get back in the mix. I like that. Let me ask you this. On the high end, if Hartman stays healthy and Notre Dame looks good, what are they capable of accomplishing? Could Notre Dame be a legitimate playoff team with Hartman? Or are we getting overexcited about that? What's the high end? We worry about the low end every minute. What's the high end of this?
I think the high end is absolutely a playoff appearance. That is definitely the high end to me. I think, you know, and then to me, it's like I said before, John, to me, the floor is 9-3, and the high end to me is probably 11-1, and that gets us into the playoffs, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any way it doesn't. I think 11-1 gets us in.
Yeah, it'd be a really tough schedule. The difference with Notre Dame at 11-1 this year with a lot of the other years, it'd be a legitimately tough schedule that nobody could really deny that aspect of it.
John, we finished number 5 in the country 2 years ago with a pretty mediocre schedule, really. You know?
Yeah, extremely mediocre. Extremely mediocre. Right. Mediocre meaning Cincinnati at home is your toughest game, and Kelly couldn't pull it off. I'm still mad about it. And I'm mad about how much red was in the building. That whole thing I'm not over. I'm still mad about all of it. You had one big game that year. USC was in the crapper, and you couldn't handle it at home. I can't get over it. It still bugs me.
You know what, though? it bugs you, it bugs me, but you know what? That guy's gone now. So that's the way I look at it. This is a new regime at Notre Dame football.
Yep.
Here you mentioned something that really, this has really been bugging me, John. And this has really been, just like when the recruits take a nosedive, whenever they, and it is starting to become a pattern. I've noticed that. I'm like, before I was thinking, well, are we just, focusing on that because we're Notre Dame fans?
Yeah.
And then I was thinking about it. And then after Mayer was not drafted in the first round, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. And who is Kincaid from Utah? I think he was one of the guys that was in the Mackey Award that finished ahead of him. But still, I'm like, if there's any position that Notre Dame should have an upside with, it's the tight end position. And then we still don't get a first round. And then Kyle Hamilton last year, every year, guaranteed, no matter where they say a Notre Dame guy is going to end up in the draft, it's early part of the year, you need a smart betting man to always bet them in the second round because that's always where they end up.
But why is it? But why is it though? Is there I don't know. Is there a stigma? Is there? I think there's got to be a stigma at some point of like when it gets down to it, and I think they look at it and go, and they don't take Notre Dame that seriously or something. Like when it comes down to it, I think sometimes they're like, oh, it's little old Notre Dame. Like their little operation they got. And it's kind of looked at differently than maybe teams in a different conference, guys in a different, I don't know what it is. And the recruiting part really drives me nuts when there's no football going on and our guys drop 100 spots in the rankings. Somebody's got to explain to me how that happens without games being played that you commit to Notre Dame and then the next month you drop 100 spots with no football. What did I miss? Did a guy's leg fall off?
And I agree with you on that as well. The one thing I'll say about that, though, and even the draft picks to some degree, what that should do is create a chip on the shoulder to that personal player, whoever that may be. Yeah. Like Brendan Vernon coming in this year and dropped however many spots once he committed.
And I'm going to tell you, that guy's on a mission. Brendan Vernon's on a mission. You all know I got a relationship with his parents. That guy is on a mission. Do not ever sleep on Brendan Vernon. He thinks differently than a lot of these guys his age. He has a different mentality, mature beyond his years. That guy is focused and ready to come to Notre Dame and put in work. He is different. Now, when it'll pay off, what his body turns into, how they want to shape him, I don't know. But that guy's got the mentality I want out of a Notre Dame frontline defensive player, and I pray that it comes together. That guy's built different in the mind. Forget physically. He's built different in the mind, and I love that. Just had to throw that in there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, in a way, I guess it could be an advantage for Notre Dame in a way, because of that. Because the guy comes in, he's going to want to prove himself. Like, I'm better than that, as opposed to a guy that – and see, here's the other thing, John, I'm curious about. Again, we're so hyper-focused on Notre Dame, and I admit I haven't been looking around to see what's going on with other teams. But how many other teams are losing their recruits and getting is this just happening everywhere, or does it seem to be a little more focused on Notre Dame, or is that just what the media is making it out to be?
No, I feel like this is the way it goes all over. But at Notre Dame, man, okay. You ask really good questions. I believe this transient roster trend with the coming and the going and the transfer portal, this is happening to every team all over. But at Notre Dame, it's not the way we usually operate. So when a guy leaves, I think it gets magnified. And it can't just be, this is just how it goes now. There's something wrong. Why don't guys want to be in the program? What's going on behind the scene? I believe that's what's going on. Man, you ask good questions. That, I believe, is what's going on. This happens everywhere, but we're way more sensitive to it in our world, in our Notre Dame world, where everybody's family, we're all under the same umbrella. And when somebody wants to leave that, we don't just look at it as, it's part of the modern business. We look at it as, what does this mean behind the scenes? What's going on that guys aren't happy? They want to leave here and they don't want that degree. I don't think it's that emotional, but to us it is, because it's the Notre Dame family and we don't want to see people leave the family and all of that. It was like breaking up with Tommy. Oh, you're saying goodbye to a Notre Dame guy. Yeah. I think it gets magnified. I do. And with Diggs, people were saying Diggs never even wanted to be at Notre Dame. There's been rumors about Diggs leaving since the minute he got here. There's been rumors about him not really being comfortable there. That shouldn't surprise anybody.
Well, we'll say he's the one that does surprise me a little bit. Everybody else, it kind of made sense. But because he's kind of 1B at the running back, it's not even really like you're a backup. You're really a co-starter, which is why his did surprise me a little bit.
Yeah.
But again, if there's any position where you can afford to lose a guy like that, it is the running back position.
Hey,
so again,
that's how I look at it. That's how I looked at it. People were saying to me, man, you don't seem like you're adequately upset losing Diggs. Like you seem like you're glossing over it. I loved what Diggs provided, but I also feel pretty good about what else is there in the running back room and some of the young guys, not just estimate. Some of the young guys, like you said, the reason I'm not freaking out is if there's anywhere we could afford that, that's probably it.
Oh, yeah. Well, because you had two. The cool thing is, John, is you have basically 4 guys, 2 of which are one guy kind of guy and 2 of which are another kind of guy. You got 2 kind of speedsters, quickbacks in Jadarian Price. Well, I guess Tyree you could throw in there. He's probably going to still get some carries, obviously. And then you got, I just had his name and forgot, Jeremiah Love. And then you got Payne and Estime as your kind of you're
now
bringing the pain, baby.
No, I like that. I like that. Give me the pain. All right, let me ask this. I want a medical report on Price and that rehab leg. I want to know where I just need to know. Like, I want to know where that medical report is to be able to know where we stand with him. Because if he comes back with the pop in those legs he had prior to the injury, woo, baby, I like the future there. And then, hey, man, a bunch of people are telling me Love might be the best one of all these guys. We haven't even seen that show yet. I'm excited about the potential. Right. I'm really excited.
Yeah. Well, and I really think the Tyree thing's a big X factor, man, because that guy, I would have to think going into this year, he's got a lot to prove, and he knows it's his last year to prove it. And so I think he's going to be the X factor in this year's team, and it really adds a lot of versatility. I really believe that with him at that kind of, a hybrid of that, or not a hybrid, but a, kind of like that flanker position that Rocket fulfilled all those years back, Yeah. Although Tyree, I think, is a better pass catcher, not as good as a runner as Rocket was, to be honest.
Yeah, but here's what I like, though. Here's what I love. What I love is when I think about when Tyree is best, it's getting him the ball in space and then letting him make moves like that. Not in a traditional handoff type sense. That's not where he's best suited. This flex out to wide receiver, I agree with you. Notre Dame could sneak him in, bubble screens. You could do all sorts of stuff with him out there and then let him make moves. I think that utilizes everything great. And that wide receiver room could use an older guy there running around. I like it. I like the way that sets up. I liked it more with Diggs. I liked it more with Diggs also in the running back room, but I still like where we're at.
Yeah, no, I think Tyree's the one that I'm going to make a prediction that he's going to really pop this year, and he's going to do himself real proud and probably become a 2nd or 3rd round pick in the draft, because I think that's where he's headed. I think he's going to have a really, really good year.
Yeah,
I really do. Maybe even 1st round if he really pops, but because of his talent and his speed. But yeah, man, it's all this negativity that comes with Notre Dame football. It's just something you got to kind of swallow. And I'm at that point now where it's like, man, you can get yourself so worked up. And it doesn't do anybody any good. And I think sometimes it's just best to just kind of step away when things start going in that direction. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so,
well, you know what happens to me? You know what happens to me doing what I do here? Like, I can't really step away. I have to lean in when there's problems, right? But here's what I got to do, man. Sometimes I got to sit there, call timeout, pull my laptop down, turn it off, put my phone down, and just think, am I so sucked into Notre Dame land that we're missing the big picture here in the country? Everything seems so magnified for us. Like this transfer thing, you lose a few guys, you look around the country and that's normal. It's happening everywhere. And I got to remind myself, the world isn't ending. It's just different here. The magnifying glass is different. It can't just be a business decision. It always has to be what's wrong behind the scenes. And I think sometimes that's a mistake.
Well, and I think you nailed it too. When we were talking about Buckner, really, I gotta say, man, and he's not going to have it easy, by the way. He's got some talent he's going to have to deal with at Alabama to beat those guys out, even though he's got the most experience.
What do you,
I guess. I mean,
can I ask you an honest question about this dynamic? I get that he has a relationship with Reese. I get that connection and comfort. But the Alabama fit and the Saban fit with Buckner's personality, man, we're at opposite ends of the spectrum. Buckner's more like quiet, calm, cool, laid back kind of guy personality. Alabama doesn't fit that. It could be uncomfortable there. I don't know how this goes. How do you read that situation? He could end up not even playing, leaving Notre Dame to play. He could go there and not play there too. Like, there's a lot of ways this could end bad for Reese and him. I don't know, man. This is a risk. Reese and Buckner out on an island here at Alabama to me. There's a lot to prove. How's this going to go down?
No, there is, but I will say I understand why he did it. And I'll be honest, man, all things being equal, especially because Reese is at Alabama, you're right. I mean, it's like, you're taking a risk, but you're also, if it does work, you're putting yourself in a high-profile position. And he's got to look at that, man. With 2 years left in his career, I think he felt like, I got to do something different because my luck just ain't going well the way it is right now. And sometimes you got to do things like that and just be like, maybe I just got to have a different energy. So I totally understand why he did what he did. And I'll be honest with you, man. It probably puts us in a position where we got to go after another transfer QB next year, just because you're going to have Minchie, who's probably not,
I don't like it.
Stays healthy, but I don't know. Do we not like it? Let's say there's another quarterback in the transfer portal like Hartman that we end up getting. Well, then we're not feeling so bad about
but the
that
issue
again.
is, here's where this becomes an issue. Like last year, the hottest quarterback in the market was the Williams guy, went to USC, whatever. This year, Notre Dame lucked out and got the hottest one in the portal. My question is, what are the odds Notre Dame's going to be in the race if there is a top-level one? Like, I feel like getting Hartman was pretty unique for Notre Dame. I just worry about the quality of the guys that are going to be there and their interest in Notre Dame. Can you have that come up Shamrocks 2 years in a row? Wow, that would be impressive to be able to do that.
How Hartman does this year. I think a lot of perception is going to be on if he does real well and if he gets invited down to New York, And by the way, I just got to say, can you already hear the negativity? Oh, he's a 6-year guy. This is he ain't that great. I'm just saying, if he has a great year and he goes down to New York, wins the Heisman, or finishes, third or fourth or whatever, you're going to be hearing a lot of guys. Well, it's only because he was in his 6th year. I mean, you can already hear it right now, right? Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know.
One other thing.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying this because he's the backup quarterback and he's the underrated guy. But I'm going to tell you something, man. I'm going to make a prediction about Angeli. Okay? Angeli could be the factor going forward for the next year or two because of his development. Really, I liked what I saw in the blue gold game from him. I don't know if people were sleeping on him, but I watched that blue gold game, in replay. And of course, love what Hartman did. Buckner stunk up the place. I don't know what the hell happened to him.
No. I got an answer to that. Whoa. Time out. I got an answer for that, by the way. I have heard from other Notre Dame contacts and things I've read, Buckner transferring was in the works before blue and gold. I've heard multiple Notre Dame outlets have said that they were alerted the week of blue and gold game leading up to it, that this was going on behind the scenes. That totally explains a lackluster performance by Buckner. I don't think his mind was in it, and it was swirling with all the options and the things that going on in the back channels. Multiple people with more access to me have said that was in the works, and they were alerted as the media the week leading up to the game. That explains a lot about what happened that Saturday to me. I think the guy was checked out, had a million things swirling in his head. That's the result you got, and then it all made sense, didn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, that does make a lot of sense.
It's
Man,
a shame, though. It's just a shame. Yeah, it's a shame. I like the great guy. I hate it. I just hate
I know
it.
you talked about him being Mr. Cool. Every time I've seen him in interviews, he's been very even keel too, and he looked literally. I mean, I felt bad for him, man, because he looked like he was. I mean, you could tell he didn't want to take that interview. He didn't have a good game. He knew he didn't have a good game. And I kind of felt bad for him, but then it made sense when he transferred next day. I'm like, all right. Like you said, that does make sense.
Yeah.
But John, I'm telling you, man, I see things in Angeli that I really, really like, man. There's just something about him.
I'm listening. I'm open. I'm open to the idea that everybody's getting excited about Minchie and Carr looking ahead, and Angeli gets lost in that mix. I'm very open to that. I admit I just haven't seen or read or heard a lot pumping him up like I hear about guys who really are Minchie guys and believe in that, and everybody's excited about Carr. That's the thing, man. I don't want to sell Angeli. I don't want to sell him short, but I don't know that I've seen enough that I'm like, okay, if Hartman goes down, Angeli can lead us right down the field. I don't know if I've seen that.
Well, it's not so much about, I guess I'm going back on what I just said about the transfer thing. It's not so much about the backup position this year, although if he gets hurt, we're going to be looking at that. I'm saying his development going forward. I don't know when you left the game, because I got there late, obviously, and I didn't obviously watch it until a few days later. But when I did watch the game, where maybe everybody was starting to leave the stadium was kind of when Angeli was playing. And I like a lot of things I saw of his game that day. I really did. And I don't know.
It could be a big deal.
His mechanics,
yeah, that could be a big deal. We might need him.
Really for that position, man. And I'm thinking that maybe that's what they're thinking. Maybe they're like, maybe we don't need to get a transfer quarterback, because maybe they're thinking next year Angeli will be that guy. With competition, obviously, with Minchie and Carr and all that.
Yeah.
But maybe we're feeling a lot better about. I don't know. I'm feeling better about the backup than I did before.
And that is but that's a big decision. That is a big, big decision whether you feel that you need to get a guy or not and let it ride next year. I'm just hoping we could get through this year in one piece and then worry about that. But those are big quarterback decisions coming up, especially what you do in 24 in the transfer market and all that. Really good calls, man. I'm glad to catch up with you. I'm sorry that blue and gold ended up rough. Sorry.
Well, the last thing I'm going to say, John, I'll leave you with this, and it's all about the book. We talked earlier this year about, a summer get-together of some sort. Let's definitely make that happen somewhere, somehow, some way. I live in Indianapolis. It's a great meeting point. If we do it at my place or someone else's, but let's make this happen. Let's do this.
The other thing we could do is summer at Notre Dame is pretty great because it's so low key. We could even meet in South Bend and do stuff to be around campus, get with my stadium guy, maybe run through the field real quick. Like, we could do stuff there as a meeting point.
That would be a dream come true.
And there's not a million people there. Maybe that's a time we could go in there, get to the restaurants, the bars, go on campus, do fun thing. Maybe we could get a group. I don't know. Let's do it in the summer. I like that
idea. I like that idea a whole lot better. That sounds great. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
we'll figure it out.
That sounds really fun. But thanks for calling, man. You're scaring me. You're in my brain too much, and I think that we should both get checked out. You know what I mean?
Well, it just means let's make this summer thing happen, man. That'll be a lot of fun, and look forward to it.
Beautiful.
Hey, have a great day, man.
Have a good weekend, man. Take care. Oh, man, he's always got so much energy. This guy talks more than John. It's amazing, but like minds end up finding each other. Yeah, he talks a lot just like I do. All right. We got a few more calls. I'm going to slip in my closing the gap topic now, then we'll get to these calls because I don't want to let this go by and miss it. Wait a second. Where was I? I had something I was going to click on and I forgot it. Look at this. Roger Dodger. USC is impossible to beat. Well, it's not impossible, but you actually have to play really solid, good football, which Notre Dame did not feel like doing in LA last year. You didn't even have to be great. All you had to do was just show up and be decent. You couldn't even do that out there. It offends me to this moment. All right. So regarding closing the gap, Jamie Uyama, ISD, he's usually a recruiting guy, does a lot of that work. I want to make sure I give him credit for the source here. Jamie Uyama looked at Notre Dame and Georgia since the 2017 game and what has happened since then. Kelly gave an interview after that game speaking about catching Georgia, Alabama, those type of teams in talent, talking about closing the talent gap, and that he felt like Notre Dame was trending in that direction as far as doing that, okay? Then you look at the draft classes from the last couple years Kelly was there, and then Georgia as well, like moving that forward a few years towards the end of Kelly. Those last 2 years of Kelly and Georgia had 25 players drafted. Notre Dame had 5 in that last 2-year window. 25 guys drafted and Notre Dame had 5. Not only did the talent gap not close, it widened bigger than it's ever been before. 5 NFL players picked in 2 years is below Notre Dame. It is below Notre Dame. You need to produce more talent than that if you expect to compete at all for anything that matters. Brian Kelly knew there was a gap, properly identified the gap, ran his mouth about closing the gap, and then proceeded to do absolutely nothing about it. He did not change the way he recruited. He did not change the way he required all of his staff to recruit. I could actually argue the recruiting got worse, not better. And then he checked out and looked for an out, and now he's out. Now, what is my point with all this? My point isn't just to rip on Brian Kelly. I do that enough. And quite frankly, it's getting kind of annoying doing it. So that is not my point with this. My point with this is I want to make sure everybody knows exactly the reality of the situation. This is not, I do enough Brian Kelly crap fest and whatever. This is just a practical exercise for you guys to know how far behind we are. And it's never, ever been more clear to me exactly what happened with Brian Kelly at Notre Dame. Like, the clarity I have on this is crystal clear. And the people I talk to, and some of them that have administrative roles, here's the vibe. I've never been more sure of this. Kelly wanted all this stuff done from Notre Dame, the new building he complained about, new resources and all that. I do not blame Kelly for asking for those things. I don't blame Kelly for asking for those things. He wanted all that. But the way his personality is, it was rubbing people the wrong way at Notre Dame. So then Notre Dame went to Kelly and said, we want certain things out of you too. Kelly didn't want to bend on what they wanted. The administration didn't want to bend on what Kelly wanted. And I think they both checked out. And I think the administration was done listening to Kelly and trying to help him because of the way he treats them. And I think Kelly said, you're not giving me what I need. I'm going to coast through here till I find a soft exit. And he found a great one at LSU. That's what happened. Telling you, that's what happened. And the recruiting record shows it. The areas on the team that don't have appropriate depth prove it. Like, I don't think that's for debate. And so, you know, the whole BK left the top 5 roster, you're out of your freaking mind. If you think that or said that to me, you are out of your mind. There's no way it was even anywhere in that world close to being a top 5 roster. Jeez, how could you say you have a top 5 roster when you had like one wide receiver that could even run starting last year? Like, no, unbelievable. So my point with this is there's just so much work to do. And I know that it's harder at Notre Dame. That's why you need a guy that recruits like Freeman does. He's got that engine. The roster is improving. But like it's been mentioned already, you got to drop some top guys in there. You got to be, I love that blue chip rate, 84%, whatever. That's beautiful. Telling you where the meat of your talent is. That 83, 84%, that's beautiful. But you got to have that cherry on top to really get Notre Dame going. Think in Notre Dame's safety position right now, Bowen could start right away. Think how much better you feel about the defensive line if you could unleash Keely Young and know he's going to produce. You wouldn't be messing around with the portal if you had Dante, right? Like those 3 players change a lot of things. And so I don't know. Somebody says he might win a championship at LSU. I'm telling you, I give Kelly a hard time for everything. He did a great job on this exit. You know what the number one thing Kelly's good at? Doing things for Brian Kelly. That's what Kelly is best at overall, is looking out for Kelly. He is. He's great at that, making himself look better than he is, defending himself on things, looking out for his own image. Kelly's great at looking after Kelly. LSU's a great fit. It is. It's a beautiful fit. Initially, the culture thing was kind of an adjustment for everybody, but practically LSU is perfect for Kelly. Think about it, you guys. You throw out there a 200-mile radius for recruiting. Half of those guys are going to go to LSU no matter who the coach is. You get credit for those guys. You don't even really have to recruit them. They're local. They love LSU. They've loved it their whole life. They're local. They're going there. You don't have that at Notre Dame where you just cast that net after class. Nope. So that helps. Looser with academics helps. They're letting him transfer guys in and out undergrad as much as he wants. That helps. More open with NIL. That helps. I've said this from the beginning. Kelly can recruit with the exact same level of vigor or lack of vigor he did at Notre Dame and get better results out of it at LSU. I'm not saying it's better or worse how one does it or the other. I'm telling you, he can operate the exact same mindset he did at Notre Dame and get better results out of it at LSU because the structure allows for it. It's just a different setup. Kelly is best at looking out for Kelly, and he did a really good job. He did. The other interesting dynamic with Kelly in the big picture is the other interesting part I'm going to tell you why I'm talking about Kelly. I will talk about Kelly until the minute his inappropriate recruiting is no longer holding back the current team. Anybody going to tell me that's not fair? I will talk about Kelly until his mistakes no longer hold back the current program. When that moment happens, I'm happy to be done talking about him. But until his inappropriate recruiting and development is fully worked over and put back together, he's relevant to talk about. So if anybody wants to tell me that's not fair, go for it. But you can talk about Kelly till he's no longer holding us back, okay? And he still is. This staff's doing a good job flipping the roster, but here's the biggest takeaway. There is way, way, way more work to be done on that roster after Kelly left than anyone ever wanted to admit. And it comes off as excuse making and blaming and crying about stuff. I don't care what anyone says. That roster needed a major overhaul, way, way more than anybody wanted it to be when Kelly first left. That's my big takeaway. Everybody needs to realize that. Major overhauls, major depth issues that had to be overcome. There is a lot there. Oh, man. Let's see. Well, now, wait a second. Explain why most coaches win titles in year 2 or 3 with the previous coach's guys. I mean, isn't that individualized, though? It really depends on what those rosters look like. They're not all built the same. And then the other thing is, if you give me 2 to 3 years, you could flip that. Like, I want to get to that point, get to that window, right? Like, that's where I want to get is I'm excited to see that window of about 2 to 3 years fully down the recruiting line, meaning filtering out Kelly's last guys and then getting Freeman's in. That's where I'm excited. And I think the roster's still probably 2 years away for being where I need it if things go right. Maybe even more than that. I'm sorry, I might have a high bar, but this roster, no. With depth, no. Nowhere close to what I need. No. And you're not going to be able to just flip it. You're not going to be able to just flip it. You're not. All right, what do we got? 618, make it great. Hello, did you fall asleep on the phone? Yo! He fell asleep. He fell asleep on me. That's how boring I am. Call back 618. I think he literally fell asleep or something. Oh my God, that's funny. Here we go. If we don't get Scott, we need to discuss Freeman's recurring of elite and defib players. You got to land on some top guys. I don't know what else to say, and I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it in the world of NIL, where in the 11th hour, right before signing day, everybody's offering Notre Dame guys stuff that we can't offer. How do you hold those guys? Tell me, how do you hold them? How do you hold on to those guys when you're not playing those games? I don't want to be in a position where the best Notre Dame could do is tell a guy, don't you want to go to school? Don't you want to get good grades? Like, bro, that works for a lot of people. But a 5-star guy getting offered millions of dollars in a car, it's a tough sell. It's just a tough sell. Oh, man. It really is. Yeah. But here's the thing. Fighting Irish Faithful brought up the year 2 to year 3 window. It's very, very interesting. Here's kind of the way I'm looking at this setup now. So you got year 1 with Freeman. Faithful, I'm glad you brought that up. Like that year 3 type arc. Here's how I see this. I've said this before. 3, 4, 7 coming to you next. Here's how I look at this. Year 1 was such a whirlwind with Marcus, everything changing so fast, all of that. You're going off instinct. You don't have experience. You're doing what you think's best, and then you're going to kind of see how it goes throughout the year. That was last year. Year 2 needs to be the big I've been calling it the calibration year. And what that means is adjusting all the things from year 1 to year 2. Freeman looks at, all right, I set this up that way. It didn't quite go great. Or certain things he set up and it did go great. No, to keep doing it that way. Year 2 is that calibration. Now he knows more about that roster, where we really need help or need depth or need top line guys or need to look at transfers, all that. So year 2 is that big calibration year. Then you get into year 3. And what's interesting is historically that lines up big for Notre Dame coaches that do ultimately get over the hump in that year 3. But also what you have is that's a new playoff era. So this second window here is very big for Notre Dame because you want to be trending up going into that new playoff format. And so that's how I see it. That this is a major calibration year, and I think they're getting a lot of that done. Like evidence of that is look at the wide receiver room, how much that has changed from one year to the next, and then looking into the next recruiting. That's what I mean by calibration. Flipping an entire position group that was totally in the dumpster and flipping it to maybe be a strength in a couple of years. That's what I mean by getting that calibration going. Digging out of roster holes. Safety? Come on, man. Like give me a break. Come on, man. Like digging out of some of those holes. It's not easy at Notre Dame. It's just not easy. Oh, look at this. This is sad. Sometimes this does feel like the sport is past the spot. It's just changing in ways we're not used to. It's changing in ways we're not used to. Commits no longer mean you're committed. You go to a school and then you could leave and go play somewhere else in a week like Buckner did. It's just a changing world. These guys can negotiate for the best money. It just doesn't feel as collegey anymore, does it? Am I wrong in that? Am I an old guy? Am I an old guy for saying it just doesn't feel like it? It just, I don't know. But I'm old and I'm out of touch, but it doesn't feel like freaking college ball to me half the time. 347, good morning.
John, good morning. Terrence from New York. I called a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. I remember the number there. What's on your mind, my friend? There's a lot going on in Notre Dame land. What do you make of everything?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of want to revisit a couple.
Okay.
If I want to give you blindly, most of the things you say, I agree with. I agree with your perspective. I agree. 3, 4, 5 years ago, the 2022 and 2020 schedules look off. But I want to go back to something we discussed 2 weeks ago. I provide the ranking.
Hey man, you're cutting out. You want to try calling back? Because you're cutting out real bad. Like it's like every other word. Maybe try again. Yeah, I just feel bad. He's cutting out. Can't hear him. I had one guy sleeping and then that one didn't work. Here we go. We'll try it again. There we go. Maybe it's better.
John, can you hear me now, pal?
Yeah, I got you now. You're good to go. So you wanted to bring up something and yeah, go for it.
So I had a point I made 2 weeks ago and I didn't come armed. If I gave you blindly the rankings of teams on our schedule this year, Ohio State, USC, their preseason rankings being very high.
Yeah.
Versus years past, schedules that we've had before that we label as weak. I want you to, without naming the teams, I'm going to provide you rankings. And I just want you to tell me what schedule, in your opinion, you think seems more daunting. Are you ready?
Sure.
I won't tell you the year because if I told you the year, you'd call BS. Which schedule do you think is more difficult? At home, hosting number 4, number 15, number 10, and going away to number 12. This year, we're at home against 4, 5, and away at 9. So in 1 year, we have 4 rated teams, and this year, we have 3 preseason rated teams. Which schedule do you find more daunting or more formidable?
Well, it's tough to say because when are these rankings? Before the season?
Preseason perspective.
Okay.
We're not looking at the end because you don't know the future. We don't know how this year is going to go.
Those are pretty close. We're looking at the difference of 3 to 4, top 10. Is that what you're saying? 3? It's either 3 or 4.
I just gave you this year's.
Yeah.
Ohio State, USC, Clemson, 4, 5, and 9 respectively.
Okay, and give me the other one again.
In 2021, we hosted number 4, number 15, number 10, and we were away at number 12. That was the week schedule we ran for 11-1. We lost to Cincinnati at home. And again, the final rankings were not an indication of the preseason rankings. And that's my point. We don't really know how this year is going to go.
Yeah.
I just wanted to revisit that topic. We touched on it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that is interesting because if you're looking at the preseason stuff, then it all adjusts as teams play each other. And then that's how you end up with like 6 ranked teams before the year. And then at the end, if some of them suck, then it's like, well, Notre Dame didn't play anybody. And then I say, well, it's not our fault that those teams didn't do good. We tried to schedule them. That's what I always say when that happens.
Absolutely.
Right? I used to say that about USC. I would say, you're dinging us for the schedule. We schedule USC. It's not my problem. They've been down for 10 years. You know, like I used to say that we're scheduling big brand USC. It's not our fault. They're terrible, but we used to get dinged for it. I don't know what else we could do but schedule them.
The fact that you brought that up.
Right?
I love the fact that you brought that up because you said that last time. And so, again, we're just looking at this from a preseason perspective. We're not looking at the end. We're not looking at the conclusion. We're looking at it from a preseason perspective. How daunting has USC been since 2010?
Yeah.
Did you know since 2010, USC has had an average ranking preseason of number 12? And of the past 14 years, they've been rated in the top 25 times. Top 25, 13 to 14 years, 13 to 14 times.
Man, so your research indicates they're getting a very high ranking no matter what to start the year and then dropped off as the season went on all those years. I can't believe that it was
In the
that high,
past
even when
14
they were
years, they've been
bad.
number one. They've been number one. They've been in the teens several times. They were number 8 a few times. They were number 4 recently.
Wow, yeah.
So, again, hindsight is 2020. The season has to play itself out. That's my point.
Yeah.
And we really don't know how difficult this schedule is truly going to be. And I kind of just wanted to touch upon that. In addition to discussing some of the preseason rankings that have come out, have you taken a look at those?
I saw a couple of them. It depends who you look at. But what have you found early on? Any trends?
Just, I see a lot of fluctuation. Nobody wants to commit to Notre Dame in terms of taking a strong stance, like a lot of the rankings are doing, for instance, with like Michigan. I see Michigan a lot of number 2 in a lot of the polls. I find that incredibly frustrating. I know they've been successful recently, but I don't think that they've recruited well enough to earn that ranking. Although they've made the playoff, they've kind of done what Notre Dame's done when Notre Dame's made the playoff. They got there and then they got their butt whipped. TCU wasn't all that.
Here's the
TCU
problem.
is equivalent to Cincinnati.
Here's the
and they're getting love with the number 2 ranking. I don't see it.
The Michigan thing is bothersome to me in a couple ways. Here's number one. Number one is that they're ranked number 2 in a lot of the rankings I've seen. They do not play a challenging game till November 11th against Penn State. They literally play high school teams and the dogs of the Big Ten. So they are going to have that benefit. So they're highly ranked, and then they legitimately, in my opinion, don't face a tough team till November. So I think they're going to stay highly ranked. And I will admit their pass recruiting has been iffy, and I do believe all the Harbaugh to the NFL flirtation is a part of it. This class, they've cranked it up a little bit. 24 is looking better for them. Their recruiting has ticked up a little bit. But what bothers me is they're getting a really high ranking and they don't play a lot of tough teams early. So you're going to see them up there most of the year, and I'm going to hate it.
I concur. In addition to that, I think they also recruit similarly to us. They're very high early, as we were sadly last year, as we've been before under BK, where in the spring, summertime, top 3-ish. And then as the year goes on, you notice the Southeastern teams and some of the more traditional football powerhouses start making jumps. And I predict that'll happen with Michigan as well. I think this is like the first year they've peaked at some point in recruiting on the Harbaugh. I feel like they're always top 20-ish, not really top 5-ish. They're aggravating because they're, I can't stand Michigan.
Yeah, me too.
As you can't, or any real Notre Dame fan, I probably hate them worse than you would, to be quite honest.
And you know what's interesting? Hey, you know what else I was thinking about? I was thinking about Michigan, and Notre Dame doesn't have them on the schedule again. I think we go to the Big House in 2033. There are going to be a lot of interesting playoff matchups. When you look when that new format starts, I look at Michigan, we don't play them for another 10 years. You might end up in a few years getting that matchup in a playoff. You know what else you might get? Notre Dame and LSU or Notre Dame versus Reese at Alabama. This new playoff format, there's going to be a lot of interesting games.
Yes. The LSU thing, I think we're going to be seeing that guy. And I'm not sure what I think of Brian Kelly, to be honest with you. And it's frustrating because we've had him so long. I agree with a lot of your points. There's a lot I want to bash there, but listen, you got to give credit where credit's due. He's done so much. I mean, they've been knocking on the door because of Brian Kelly. Yeah. And I feel like behind closed doors, the administration may have held him back. Now, I have no reason to say that. I'm not in. I'm a guy from New York. I'm not from the air. I don't have any ties other than watching them on television every week. But I just, I noticed it with Freeman and his attempt to get the offensive coordinator from Utah. I found that incredibly frustrating, and that didn't pan out. And I'm listening to some of your callers, some people that seem to be on the in. I just get this sense that the administration's holding them back. Jack Swarbrick's holding them back, and I find it frustrating I think that's ultimately why Kelly left. He's had success everywhere he's been, and sadly enough, I really believe he's going to be very successful at LSU. I actually think now, 2 weeks later, they may be the second best team in the SEC, maybe even in the country. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it's tough. And here's what I've always
tough to say.
but here's what I've always said about Kelly, man. I credit him when it's due, and I rip him when it's due. He did a good job of rebuilding Notre Dame when he took over. They were in a bad place, put in a lot of infrastructure, developed a solid culture, and did get a lot of new things done at Notre Dame. The training table was under him. Like, Kelly did help modernize Notre Dame a lot and instill a stable culture and everything. It just got to a point where it just kind of got stale both ways. He didn't feel like he was getting the support he wanted. The administration wasn't feeling like Kelly was doing all they wanted.
You need that. Let me stop you right there, if I may, John.
Sure.
That's critical. I don't think these other elite programs with these top-tier coaches, I don't think Kirby Smart endorses that.
No. Those guys, wait, here's the difference. This has been a difference forever at Notre Dame. Nick Saban is in charge of that program. He does what he wants, and everybody acquiesces to what he wants and needs. Georgia, same way. Ohio State, same way. LSU, the same way. At Notre Dame, when you take over as the coach, you don't have final say. There, you are not an emperor because you're the football. You have to answer to people above you. That structure's been at Notre Dame forever. It's not going to change. Coaches need to know that's the dynamic they're walking into. You are right.
Well, that's a shame.
You are right.
As you've said before,
those guys are emperors.
Great academic university, they wouldn't be who they are unless it were for football. So I think the administration there needs to be a little more grateful, and perhaps give these coaches a little more say, a little more power, because you're contradicting yourself. You're creating a handicap for yourself if you're attempting to compete with these elites.
You're right.
And and then when it doesn't pan out, you're getting knocked. I just don't think that's fair. And if I were Kelly, I don't like the guy either. I think that there's an arrogance that I sense with him. And I think a change was necessary. I'm happy with Freeman, but I do feel like I understand why he left.
Oh, I get it too. But my complaint is, for a few years, this stuff was brewing, and I have a problem with the guy checking out in recruiting, but staying at Notre Dame even though he was checked out. That is the problem I have.
Did he really check out, though? Did he really?
Well, either he didn't check. If he didn't check out, then the results just weren't good enough. So either way you want to go, they're fine. If he didn't check out and you're telling me he recruited as hard as he could, then it's not good enough and you need to leave because of that anyways. So whether he checked out and wasn't,
no, I definitely think that the administration definitely holds him back.
I agree, and they're holding Freeman back. They're holding Freeman back, but that's a part of the job, though.
That's a shame.
They do it to everybody. Frank Leahy got ran out by the administration. They neutered Frank. They told Frank Leahy, "You're winning too much, and we don't want to become a football factory. Tone it down." They ran Lou out. Lou used to get the players he needed just enough with an edge to him to be able to win, and they didn't like that. This is just a part of Notre Dame. They're scared of being a football factory, and if they looked at it right, they would realize if football was elite, everything else would be better. Your donations would be better. People would want their kids to go there. Everybody be in a better mood. It's the tide that raises all ships when you win a ship.
I'm with you. Again, I'm with you because I feel like we're misdirecting our anger, and we're putting it on Kelly. And I think ultimately 4 or 5 years goes by and it stays like this. We're going to be looking at Freeman going, "Oh, well, he's not the guy." Well, if he's not the guy, then who is? We have to look ourselves in the mirror and go, "What's really the problem here?"
Yeah.
And I suspect it's the administration.
Man, really,
I think it's the administration holding these coaches back. Let them go. There are unique special players that are recruitable to Notre Dame. I threw in the chat earlier, what if 2018 Notre Dame had an Andrew Luck or a Bryce Young or a Christian McCaffrey? Then all of a sudden that Clemson game probably goes differently, and those are smart, good players, and tackling this can be done without going after guys that aren't into school. Precise recruiting, getting the talented guys that choose Northwestern, getting the talented guys that choose Stanford, getting the talented guys that choose these other elite academic schools that are also elite athletes. We have to recruit precisely, continue to sell our product, but we need the backing of the administration. Once we get that, we can do it.
It's hard, man. And I took a lot of heat when the offensive coordinator thing happened. I remember that week because I was on vacation in Florida when that all happened with Ludwig. So I was all like messed up with my setup and everything. And that was the big debate. And the argument is, does whoever the coach is have full support behind the scenes to let the main guy work and do all that? And Kelly was frustrated with those dynamics. I'm sure Marcus might be to a certain extent. That's where I think it's important to have a guy at Notre Dame with Freeman's personality, the way he delivers the messaging, the energy with which he recruits and goes to the Cincinnati Alumni Association meeting to raise donations and take pictures with the million people. Like, that's why it's more important than ever. You have a guy with the energy and the vision of Freeman, because it is harder. There are extra hurdles at Notre Dame that Notre Dame puts there. And you need a guy that can kind of overcome it. And I think, who are you going to get in Notre Dame that you feel could recruit better than Freeman? I have an on it with the guardrails we have. Who would you want that could recruit Notre Dame better right now than him? That's a big question I have. He's doing about as good as I could ask anybody to do. And it's still frustrating. And
That's a fair point. I can't give you an answer for that. But why can't we get somebody as an administrator that matches Freeman's energy? For instance, instead of Swarbuck, why not like a Brady Quinn? Tell me Brady Quinn wouldn't come in there and meet Marcus's energy and allow Marcus the flexibility to needs.
But see,
as a football program,
I think it goes way above that, man. Like when I look into this stuff, take the offense coordinator thing and how that didn't work out and the bad PR we took. Even if Swarbrick really, really wanted this to happen, he's got to answer to people above him about writing checks and who you can pay and how much. So I'm not even sure that the athletic director themselves has this power. I got a feeling they go in one of these boardrooms and it's a dozen people above him that he's got to convince having Notre Dame be great at football would be good for the whole operation. It's just a challenge. We impose extra challenges on ourselves. That's real.
I just don't see how such smart people can find it lucrative to hold ourselves back.
I just think they
how
value
for the university to hold the football program back. The football program made the university.
I know.
But the administrative and their version of the deep state are holding them back. How isn't the idea to make as much money as possible? If Notre Dame were as successful as Alabama, don't you think that they wouldn't even be in this situation with NBC right now? In terms of the contract.
Listen,
a lot of things are half-assed, and it's holding the program back.
There are ways.
Like a change from up top would be ideal.
I just don't know how you're going to get that change because this has been a problem since Leahy. Like this specific issue has been a problem since Leahy. They literally told him, Frank, you got to calm this down. We want to be an academic place, not known for a football factory. You need to slow it down. They literally put a governor on Frank in the middle of when he was hot after the war to slow this down. It's a very, very Notre Dame thing. But I'm telling you, there's levels of it.
They're looking for a 10-2 sweet spot, right? They're looking for a 10-2 sweet spot where they can wave it in front of us just enough so they're entertaining, just enough to give us a slight sense of optimism. But then when the reality hits, when they play one of those elite teams, it's going to be, I find that so frustrating. Now, I'm going to continue to root for them.
Yeah.
I can't help it. But it's, I mean, come on. We need somebody to come in there. It's not Freeman. It's not Kelly. It's the administration or whoever it is beyond. That needs to be addressed. And I cannot see common sense-wise how it would be financially beneficial to have things continue the way they continue. You made the the comment the other day on your show, Rutgers is getting $90 million to be in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Yet Notre Dame can't get $75 million with NBC. That's ridiculous. Who's doing the math there? This is a top tier academic university. I thought these guys were really intelligent. What's going on?
Yeah. Man, listen, this frustration's always existed. Now let me tie this up on a positive angle. Okay. The people that I know that meet with the administration or go to their events or are friends with them and go have dinner somewhere, just, in a quiet room or whatever. What I am told is all my people that are connected with the administration, they say they love working with Freeman. It's a totally different vibe than the Kelly vibe. They love working for him. He's genuine as the day is long. He treats everybody the right way with respect and all the stuff you would want out of a Notre Dame liaison. They love Freeman. They want to work for Freeman, and they want to progress in these areas. NIL, they're working on something for that, other infrastructure. I am told that they're all in and they want to help Freeman. It's a totally different vibe. I don't know if that makes you feel any better or not. I don't know if that means any practical differences are going to happen, but I was told this administration really likes working with Freeman, and they really didn't at the end like working with Kelly. So at least I guess there's a healthier symbiotic relationship there now. I don't know if that matters to you.
No, it absolutely does matter to me. I like to hear that there's some type of progression there. I just hope it's not based upon the novelty, him being new, because I'm pretty sure, I would guess anyway, when Kelly came around in 2010 and 2011, I remember myself as a fan just being incredibly optimistic about the future, because of his successes at Grand Valley State and Cincinnati. And I would have assumed behind closed doors, they said to themselves, yes, we got our guy and things were going well. So I hope that's the case here. I hope it's not something that wears off. Continuing on a positive. Listen, I'm very, very, very optimistic about this season. I don't find the schedule overly daunting. Like I said, I don't think Ohio State. I think they're upper second tier team. USC, we touched on this 2 weeks ago. They're going to score a lot of points. I know they got transfers. They're going to be weak on defense. This is what Riley does. He was at Oklahoma for a long period of time. I'm telling
you better be careful about that. They're going to have 6 or 8 new starters right out of that portal. You better be careful, man. Okay, counting their defense out.
You can recruit these guys.
Woo!
You can get these guys to. Listen. They left Georgia. That kid left Georgia for a reason. He probably wasn't playing.
Yeah.
And now the onus is on Lincoln Riley to develop that 5-star. If he doesn't develop them, what's it worth? I'd rather have the 3-star that's developed into the 4.5, 5-star and goes on to the NFL. So until he proves to me that he has some type of defense, I know he's vulnerable, and I know his ceiling because I saw it at Oklahoma.
Yeah.
They had their doors blown off just like any other Notre Dame or Washington or Michigan State. They were no better than any other top.
Yeah. And the other thing is you do get him at home. You do get him at home, and I think that matters. I like getting them at our place, and hopefully it's a chilly night in South Bend in mid-October. Make them chilly a little bit. I do like that game's at home. And the other thing is, man, as much as I love Marcus Freeman and I support him and his vision and his work ethic and the way he treats people, his demeanor, all of it, as much as I love it all, as a Notre Dame coach, if you start out 0-2 against USC, it usually does not portend well for your entire tenure. That's dangerous. The concept that guy that I love could go 0-2 against them to start puts me in a very awkward spot.
Yeah, likewise. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to go the other way. I think that we get them by 7, 10, 14 points this year. I think their defense is soft. It was proven last year against Utah. I think we'll have a lot more confidence then. I think we'll be gelling with Hartman because more than half the season will be over. We'll be battle tested with Ohio State and NC State. I think we'll get. Listen, my biggest fear again, Clemson. Dabo's a proven winner. A lot of people are down on them in the preseason rankings. Down on them.
Yeah,
really.
I think they're
not a top 15 team.
Do you agree with me? I think their offense is going to turn back around and trend back up. They made the change at offensive coordinator. They got the young quarterback that has another year. I do expect Dabo. I think he's got a hold on what's going on. Last year was very iffy. They're going to be a lot better too. But I feel like maybe you'll agree or disagree. I feel like the Clemson matchup isn't getting as much attention as Ohio State and USC. And I think a part of the reason is just because it's the last of the string of the big three. And we got to get through the first two to really see how much that one's going to matter nationally. So I think that's why nobody's talking about Clemson from the Notre Dame end as much as the first two. And so I don't know what to make of that, but they're going to improve that offense. Dabo knows what's going on. They're going to trend back up.
I agree that the Clemson matchup is definitely being overlooked. And I think a lot of the reason why it's being overlooked is because they've been down for Clemson. They're still a 10-11-1 team, and that's considered down. So, a couple players step up, they're back to being a top 3 team. But they've been quote-unquote down. But mostly, I believe that as Notre Dame fans, we're not paying as much attention to Clemson as we are USC and Ohio State, is because USC is quote-unquote up, and Ohio State forever has had our number. And the popular topic that's been on your show, who would you rather be, Ohio State or USC, right? Because we've recently defeated Clemson. I know we did it without Trevor Lawrence. I know we did it last year.
Yeah.
But we've defeated them. We were close in 2015 in the rain with Deshaun Watson. They don't really, other than 2018, had a 2020 ACC championship game as well. They did blow us out twice, but we've clipped them. We have not clipped Ohio State, and forever USC is our arch rival. So the popular topic is, who do we feel the need to defeat more? Is it Ohio State or is it USC? And because of that dynamic, Clemson is often overlooked.
Yep. And I see it two different ways. In the short term, for next year in a vacuum, only next year. I could argue Ohio State's a bigger deal because it sets the trajectory of the path and momentum up or down of all of the rest of next year's schedule. However, if I zoom out of that and I look more big picture at Notre Dame and all this, then USC means more big picture because it's a year in, year out battle. And our existences are existentially linked year by year over 100 years. So that's my answer. Nobody likes it. Short term, only next year. I get why people say Ohio State's a bigger deal because it's the one that dictates the angle of all this. But if I zoom out, that USC existentialism always gets me big picture. So I don't know if that's fair or makes sense to anybody else, but it does to me.
That does make sense. But let me argue why I think Ohio State is more critical. I believe Ohio State is more critical because when you're talking about the big picture, when you're talking about the big quote unquote game, the New Year's Six, the playoffs, anytime Notre Dame plays a team that's in that caliber, USC has not been in that caliber. I know when I initially came on, I argued that their average preseason ranking has been number 12 since 2010, which is very good. That's a tier 2 team. But Ohio State's ranking, I'm pretty sure if we look back the past 12 years or so, probably going to be in the top 5.
Yep.
So they're an example of one of those teams like Georgia, like Alabama, recently Clemson, that Notre Dame, Oklahoma, Oregon, we haven't been able to touch. We haven't been able to get to. And I think it's more critical of a selling point to get in to defeat Ohio State. And they're also local. Yeah, we don't get them next year, but we compete with them locally for recruits. And it's just a team that we've been often accused of not being able to defeat, just like Alabama, just like Georgia.
Yeah.
Ohio State is in that year 1 category. So I think it means more from a recruiting perspective, from a big picture perspective, because you know what? If you go back to, 12, 13 years ago, we got a winning record versus USC. And listen, I would be heartbroken if we lost to them at home this year. And I don't predict we will.
Yeah.
But if we did, I think we could slingshot. I still believe we can slingshot back. I do. I don't think it'll be. Listen, it would be awful. I'd be very, very upset.
Yeah.
But if I had gone to my head, big picture, I think the Ohio State win is more critical. They've had our number for so long. What is it? Decades?
Yeah.
Let's. That is the equivalent for me.
Decades. I think it's almost 100 years. Isn't like the 30s? 1936 is in my mind as the last time Notre Dame beat Ohio State. Somebody tell me if that's incorrect.
That's crazy. Listen, I'm only a couple of years older than 41.
Man.
I've been a fan since '93, a real fan since '93. I watch it the way you watch it. I don't watch it at a bar. It's too damn important.
Yep.
And I only watch it with a select few people.
Yep.
I don't, I'm not watching it. It's not amateur hour at my house.
Yeah,
the game's on,
I'm with
my
you.
beer, I'm watching the game. Yeah, I'm not. There's no time for nonsense. And I look forward to it all year. And it's I just it would matter to me more so beating Ohio State. I think big picture is important. It shows that we could knock off one of those top tier teams. We've already proven we can do that with USC. I don't want to lose to USC.
Yeah,
we should beat both. They're both at home. We've got a 25-year-old NFL caliber quarterback. We've got wide receiver talent galore. We've got listen, I know we lost Diggs, but he left because that running back room was loaded. The defense is going to be stellar. We're there. We're there. As much as the administration could try to hold us back, this is a transition year, and I feel we're right there knocking on the door.
There you go. Listen,
Tyler
man.
Buckner ran off.
I got to tell you.
Yeah, we're going to be fine this year.
Let me tell you.
We're going to be fine. I'm very, very optimistic. Listen, 10-2 should be the absolute floor. 11-1 is probably most realistic, but we beat Clemson last year. We beat them pretty good. We can't continue that momentum this year.
Yep. Nope. Hey, I'm with you, man. I got to tell you, though, on a Friday morning, this is a really solid conversation. We hit all over the map. You brought up some old history, some new stuff, big picture stuff. Really, really good call. I might cut this up and use it for a different something else to show. Really good call, my friend. That's the point of the call-in show. Great call. I appreciate it.
John, likewise. Listen, it's been a pleasure. I love this show. I'll be listening tomorrow night, and I'll definitely call on again, man.
Hey, I really take notes and let them build up. And then when you're ready to go, call me and give your manifesto. This was well done. Thank you.
John, you take care of yourself, man. Thanks for picking up on me.
Hey, have a good weekend. We'll hopefully see you tomorrow night. Really good call, my friend. Well thought out, well spoken. Very, very good. Thank you so much. Good call on a Friday. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm telling you, Newt Rockne is just, it exists to pump negativity into everybody at every angle. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, look at this. I will dismantle everyone when it comes to ND. It's not dismantling to just pick against Notre Dame in every single way every day. You're going to land on a bunch of them are going to be right. That doesn't mean you're a genius. It just means if you're saying everything's going to be bad, and then when something goes bad, you claim credit for calling it. I'm concerned about Cousin Luke or Uncle Luke or whoever it is. Where's he at? Usually those guys tag team it, and I get hit from both of them. Where are they at? And the other thing is, how are you going to come in here with the name Newt Rockne and then pump all negativity? That shouldn't even be allowed. Like, you should have to change your name to like Bob Davey or something. Why? Or Charlie Weiss or something. Why does it got to be this? What do you mean Uncle Luke's gone? Yeah, I didn't delete him. What have you talked to him and now he told you he's gone forever? Or what? Give me a break. But it does bother me that somebody with the name Newt Rockne would be all negative about Notre Dame all the time. I don't like you tarnishing Rock's legacy with all the Notre Dame negativity. I don't like that. Even me, my history as the realist glass half empty guy and all that, I seem like Mr. Sunshine these days. Give me a break. Man. 512, we're talking to you. Where is that? Texas? Or am I wrong?
Yes, sir. Down in Texas.
Wow.
What's up, John?
I can't believe I remember that from an old work area code, but it popped in at 512. What's going on, my friend? Thanks for calling on a Friday. What's on your mind?
Well, so I kind of want your opinion on something. Carr's going to be coming in, and 5 years ago, obviously he's going to be, redshirting, and we'll play him as a sophomore, junior. But in today's game, I'm kind of thinking that we actually throw him in early as a freshman. It's gonna hurt, but do what?
I'm telling you, This has been on my mind nonstop since Buckner left. This has all been on my mind, exactly what you're asking. How do you navigate that dynamic of wanting the young guy to play to get that development going, but you got to make sure he's ready so you don't kill his confidence, and then we go 5-7 with rookie mistakes, a guy not ready? How do you navigate that? You got to make the right decision. How do you do it? Or do they go to the portal again to build a bridge? Does Minchie start for a year since he came a year before? Then those guys compete. Where does Angeli fall? There's a lot to consider. What do you think about it?
Mm-hmm. Well, I say we go ahead and start them just because the game has changed so much. And I just feel like my gut tells me that we just roll with him and pray, do some Hail Marys, that it works out. Just because what I don't want to happen is we put Minchie in there and it just all of a sudden Carr's looking elsewhere. And I mean, kids these days, it really also depends on the type of mindset that Carr has. I mean, some kids, they're in it for the school and the education, they get it, but we don't really know what this kid, like what he values.
Yeah. And wait, you know what else I want to bring up? And I was thinking about this yesterday too. Like you mentioned 5 years ago, how much the landscape was different. And then now how you got to operate and build your team. Here's the other thing to consider. If Minchie develops well, like ascends and keeps getting better, and Carr is what he is, everybody around here needs to know one of those guys is leaving. Whenever that year is that they compete, whoever doesn't get that job's going to leave. I think the days of having two guys that should or could start at quarterback are over. I think these backups that think they should have got the job aren't sticking around any of these schools, Notre Dame or anywhere else. So the pressure's on to get it right with your main guy, but get ready, because if Minchie and Carr both develop, one of them's leaving. Whoever doesn't get that job when that window hits, the other one's out. This is just the new world, man. New world. These guys aren't riding the bench. They're going to go play somewhere.
Yeah. Kind of switching over to the schedule. Let me ask your opinion on this. So we got Ohio State, USC, at Clemson, the big three.
Yep.
Who do if you can only win two, but you got to drop one, who would you rather beat?
If I could only win two, and wait, right? I can only win two, but I got to lose one. That's what you're asking?
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm beating Ohio State and USC, and I'll deal with losing to Clemson, whatever. But when I sit here in my mind and ask what would hurt me the most, it would be losing to USC and Ohio State, and then Clemson would be lower on the pain list. And I admit some of it is personal for me. I have problems with the USC fan base, and I have problems with the Ohio State fan base. Personally, I know a lot of nice Clemson people. Pigskin Pete does a Clemson show like I do on YouTube, and him and I are really good friends. I met a lot of great Clemson people last year at the Notre Dame Clemson game that were really nice. So I just have more non-even football axes to grind with USC and Ohio State. So that's how I would do it, and it's not even close. That would be the one I would be most willing to give up a loss to. But I still wouldn't like it.
Yeah, agreed.
It's going to be wild, man. It's going to be wild. This year's a big year, and things got to go right and get this baby trending up into that new playoff.
Well, that at Duke, that game is terrifying.
Tricky.
It just has trap written all over it.
Wait, look at this. Newt Rockney puts on here. Oh, Notre Dame's going 12-0, John. I can feel it. Now you're trolling me. You're reverse trolling me. You were trolling me on the negative. Now you're trolling me on the positive. Newt, balance it out. Give me a 10-2 and 11-1. He's trolling me for both ends. I can't handle it. The trolls won again. He got me. He broke me. He triggered me. Unbelievable. All right. Back to this. Sorry. That one got to me. He's trolling me on both ends now. Oh, man. That is brutal. And then Fighting Irish Faithful, really good point. The other aspect of this, Ohio State's the best team in the Midwest over the past 5 years. To be the best, you got to beat the best. That is something in my mind as well about being Ohio State being that northern power, northern Midwestern power. And a lot of those recruits were both going after. And I do like the idea of winning that. And then you would maybe have superiority of the northern Midwest if we ignore that Michigan exists and they're going to be decent. But Fighting Irish Faithful, I think of that too, about them being that Midwestern northern power and how much I hate it.
Yeah. I'm really excited about the playoffs. I mean, I'm telling you right now, you want to see Alabama come up to Notre Dame when it's, -5 degrees and snowy. Bring that on.
Yeah. Do you see the screen right now? Look at your screen? Tell me if you see the comment. Look who it's from. Crying Belly. We got a Brian Kelly troll in here now. Yeah, it's a Brian Kelly troll. Sorry, I'm throwing you off here.
You're good. You're good.
Oh, I just never seen that Brian Kelly troll account before. That's beautiful. I love that. Sorry, I interrupted you. Go. My bad.
No, you're good. I was just getting your input on the when the playoffs when we start hosting some teams. We don't play in the domes anymore.
Listen, man, I'm telling you, they put out the schedule. I saw it on Twitter. They put out the schedule of the first playoff in 24. You're going to have those games the week of Christmas is when those games are going to be. Do you know how great it'd be for Notre Dame to host one of these warm weather beach hanging out teams that week? November home games are crappy enough at Notre Dame. Could you imagine for a playoff? It would be beautiful. They're going to be cold, lighting barrels of garbage on fire, rubbing their hands in the corner. I love it. Come in here and be cold. Come in here and be cold. I dare you. I love that.
These teams down here, they're made for the dome. They always have really good records, but that's just how they're made. It's like, let's go play in the Midwest. Let's see how fun that is when it's 5 yards and a cloud of snow.
Yeah, cloud of snow. I like that. That's perfect. Oh man, that's great. Yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be super intriguing. And yes, Notre Dame's not going to be eligible for one of those buys because we're independent or whatever. But if we don't get that, but the next thing we get is the advantage of hosting a team at home in late December, especially if it's one from an area that's not used to that. I like that. That's a good consolation deal.
All right, John. Well, hey, I appreciate you taking my call down from Texas, and I love the show. I love your energy, and I really appreciate it, man.
Hey, thank you for calling. Save the number. Call me again. I'll be live late tomorrow night, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Save the number. Call me whenever you have a new thought. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Have a good one. Here's what I like. I don't know what's happened the last couple weeks, but we've been getting some new callers, new people in the chat. It's beautiful. Like, I can't even tell you how great that is to have some new people in the mix. Indy hosting a home playoff game. I can't even wrap my mind around the energy of that. It would just be it would be history. Like, if we won it, obviously it becomes history in a different way of that moment and what it would mean. It would be Notre Dame not getting in, but actually winning their first playoff game in the modern era, the ultra modern era, if it goes, to the 12-teamer. But man, what a historic moment. And the colder, the better. I'm telling you, I'm all for it. And it's just going to be so weird. Late December, a home game in Notre Dame. Give me that. Give me that. Yeah, look at this. Look at this. 40 plus carries for Estime in a snow playoff game. You can't go wrong. Like, I'm telling you, Notre Dame would have that advantage. The way they're built and the way the guys are used to that weather. It's a thing. I mean, you could debate how big of a thing, but it is a thing. But my word, I can't imagine them hosting that game. It's going to be electric. It's going to be electric. Also, we got to make it there first before we worry about it. You do got to make it there. Kind of a big deal. If that's a big deal to anybody. 484, give me some more. Good morning.
Hey, John. Good morning. What's up, man? I had two things I want to hit on real quick.
Beautiful. Let it rip.
One was that I wanted to one offer a dissenting opinion about the caller's opinion about the Notre Dame administration earlier.
Beautiful.
Two,
Beautiful.
Now that all the dust has settled with the Buckner and the Diggs transfer situation, I kind of want to talk about that too.
Beautiful, man. Hey, the floor is yours. Let it rip.
Yeah. So my dissenting opinion about the Notre Dame administration, and I'll preface this with saying that, I didn't go to Notre Dame. I love it. I love the team. I love the university. I didn't go there. So, I'm not an expert on it, but something that I thought of from like my own experience, but not to make this about me, was that, I was in the Marines for a number of years, and we used to always, whenever something would go wrong, we used to always blame battalion and regiment, which was like corporate from the office, right? Like your higher level of command. And, looking back at that, though, I really regret doing that because it kind of just demoralized everybody the whole way down. And because I saw now that as I got older, that really, they weren't the ones, like everyone up there, they were just trying to do the best that they could, And it was probably just some young captain, somebody like Tommy Reese, if you will, up there trying to do the best that they could. So what I'm getting at here is that I don't think that the Notre Dame administration, intentionally wants to hold the football program back. Like there might be some constraints that's, making it difficult for them to balance that.
All right. Now wait. All right. Now let me ask you, let me ask you a clarifying question. I appreciate this. And I like the dissent makes for a great radio show. Let me ask this. You said you don't believe that they are actively trying to hold the football aspect back. How much does it matter to you, whether it's intentional or not, if the reality is that it's happening? That's where I have an issue. Like, it doesn't have to be intentional for them to hold the program back, and they're still holding it back, and I'm going to be mad. I'm more mad if I have proof that it's intentional. I'll give you an example of that. I'll give you a great example. By the way, thank you for your service. Also, I want to mention that. But the undergraduate transfer rules, they're not trying to hurt the football team, being as strict as they are with the undergraduate credits. That makes it so hardly no undergrad football players could transfer into Notre Dame and be there a few years. They're not intentionally making that rule to hurt the team, but it does. And it really hurts Marcus's ability to be able to fill some gaps in the roster. What do you do then? That's not intentional. They want to protect their academics. But the consequence of that is it limits Freeman in that transfer portal. What am I supposed to make of that? It's not intentional, but it's holding us back.
No, you're right. And I think that, if it's not intentional, but it's out of like a kind of incompetence or like an unwillingness to change, I also view that as completely unacceptable, right? Because apply this to like whatever other type of work that you or any of the callers here do, like, yeah, sure. If there's obstacles that's preventing you from doing what you want and you're not taking steps to change it, then that's almost in a way like negligence, right?
Yeah.
But for this particular example with the transfer portal, though, I think that they're stuck with that one. I think that's one that Marcus is just going to have to try to work around as best that he can.
But all right, let me ask you this. I'm just a dummy. I don't work in fancy Notre Dame offices. I'm yelling at you from my basement, right? But are you telling me all the smart, well-intentioned people over at Notre Dame can't get in a room and find a way to thread the needle and find an angle to let some more guys in and then require more of them when they're in if they want to do that to get caught up with the right credit or whatever? Like, I refuse to believe there's not a path with a little more flexibility and middle ground that the football people are okay with and the administrative level can also handle. I'm not asking for a free-for-all. I'm asking for maybe a little middle ground there and find a path for those guys to get in, but require extra of them to show that they could make it academically. Like, I don't know. I just think there's got to be a way.
Yeah, no, John, I'm all about that. And I love the one caller's idea earlier of, bringing Brady Quinn in. He said as the actual athletic director. I don't know if necessarily Quinn, has all the qualifications for that, but maybe bringing people like Quinn or others on board, as maybe an advisory body to see where they can change things.
Yeah. The Brady Quinn thing's the Brady Quinn thing's interesting. A lot of folks in Notre Dame land are speaking of him as if he might be a potential AD candidate when Swarbrick is ready to retire. I don't know if that's real or not, but I've seen that mentioned, and I don't know if that's just social media or if that's realistic, but I see a huge value in having a Notre Dame guy like Quinn with the credibility he has and the good favor of the fan base that he has and the good guy he is in society and the good looking guy he is. He's got everything going for him in Notre Dame land. He would be a guy everybody would want to back and support and believe whatever he wanted to push. Getting him involved is a good thing.
Oh yeah, 100%. And all right, so John, to wrap this up from my end on this topic, and then I'll switch over to the Buckner transfer situation.
Beautiful.
No, I agree. The administration can change, but I would caution all the fans from kind of antagonizing or demonizing the administration, because that might ultimately hurt the fan base and or chase off recruits if they think that, oh well, do I want to go to a school where their fans don't trust their administration. Yeah.
There's a lot of history here, man. That's where I really get hit with this is reading. I got the book on the other edge of the table in this room, the history of Frank Leahy's run at Notre Dame and the battles he went through with the administration, them not wanting him to turn it into a football factory, literally telling him to chill out on it. And that just hits me, man. It's been a thing around here that long. It has been. Lou went through it. It just seems to be a thing here. And it's always been.
Well, hey, it's unfortunately, John, I wish we were in a position where we could change it, but I don't know if that's happening anytime soon.
But listen, look at it this way. If the administration is going to work with anybody on this kind of thing, it's going to be somebody like Freeman. I think about that a lot. If they are going to be open to a meeting where Freeman has important people in the room and says, you guys, I don't want us to fall behind here. Here's what I'm seeing on the recruiting or with this or that. If we can't get a little further down the line here, we're going to be in trouble. If anybody can get the administration to understand some of that with the right messaging and genuine nature of the delivery, it's Marcus Freeman. I do hold out hope on that because that's a guy that has a way of presenting things that don't turn people off the way Kelly did a lot. They'll work with them. Let's see how much can get done. I'll tell you this. If Freeman doesn't accomplish what we want him to, unlike his predecessor, effort is not going to be the reason. That's my statement. Yeah. That's my statement.
Yeah, 100%. I'm all in on Freeman. I'm hoping he's going to be the guy that gets Notre Dame back on top and grabs the ship.
Yeah, they're trying to work that roster hard. They're working as hard as they can to flip that roster, and I respect the hard work. This staff is grinding. Again, I don't know if it's going to get over the hump, but they are workhorses, and I respect it a lot. Let's move on to the Buckner thing. What do you make of the quarterback deal?
So, all right, one, I wanted to call in actually right after the spring game because I could see it, man. I called it right after the spring game when, Buckner actually had a little interview with some reporter immediately after the game, okay? I don't know if you watched it or you know what I'm referring to.
See, I was at the game, so there's no way I saw that. I missed all that. Tell me what he said. That's very interesting to me, especially now that I hear that the transfer stuff was in the works well before the game, days before the game. Now I really want to hear what he said. What did he say when I was driving home in the sleet?
Exactly. So, this was immediately after the game, just an on-field quick, couple questions with a reporter. And the reporter's asking him, how do you feel about how the spring went? How do you see your future at Notre Dame? And John, I'm telling you, you could tell by the tone in his voice and his body language that his answers, it was not the body language of a person being genuine. Okay. He was like, oh yeah, I feel really good. And I think I have a bright future here, but you could see it in his face.
Yeah.
That something he didn't believe what he was saying.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I was like, dude, he's going to transfer.
Man,
100%.
I feel I have no ill as a person who has such intense emotions about everything with Notre Dame, whether I'm right or wrong, I really believe what I believe and the reasons why. I have that for like every Notre Dame issue except for this one. Dude, I have no ill will to Buckner at all. I feel bad for the guy. He's had bad luck and bad health and bad timing for the last 5 years of his football life. I feel terrible for Buckner. I wanted it to work out here. The fans all wanted him to be the guy and to support him. It just didn't work out. This is a risk at Alabama. He could not see the field at all. He could see the field and it goes bad. Maybe he sees the field and he's a star, but I think that would be the least likely just from what I know of his game. What do you make of this fit at Alabama? Could go a bunch of ways.
Yeah, I mean, at Bama, I don't know. It's really hard to see how he's going to get the starting job. I mean, but maybe he thinks that even just being a backup at Bama positions him maybe better to get into the NFL.
Wait. No. All right, I got to call timeout. I got to work this through in my mind. I ain't the brightest. All right. The reason he's not happy at Notre Dame is what? Because he's not going to play. So theoretically, when you transfer, I thought, here's what I was thinking. Northwestern, Stanford, Cal, somewhere kind of friendly for that kind of thing and build the offense around him. There's not a ton of national pressure, but you could be the guy, build an offense around your skill set. You could start, show off what you do. We'll build around you. That's what I pictured as being a comfortable fit. The last thing on my mind is something like this. I don't know. What if you don't play? Then you left Notre Dame to play and you're not going to play again another year? What that tells me is if that happens, he was just sick of Notre Dame, wanted to get out of Notre Dame. Right?
Yeah. No, and I think the writing was on the wall for him and for Diggs as well. And honestly, I love this, and I think it's such a good sign of where the program is at. Is that they saw the writing on the wall. Okay, yeah. I'm not going to be like Doug this year. I mean, Diggs presumably. I mean, obviously, there's not really a guy at running back, right? But he was going to split some carries. But they saw that, like, over the next 2 years, they were going to get pushed out by the younger talent coming up.
See, now you're hitting. Wait, see, you're hitting right where I was, which was there's two different paths here. Oh my God, what's going? These guys want to leave. What's wrong with the program that's making these guys not want to be here? That's one narrative. I went the other way and I go, all these guys are getting chased by guys younger than them and they know they're getting buried or they're not going to be the main guy because we have too many other good guys. This might actually be a good thing long term.
Yeah, and I still feel that way 100%.
Me too.
And I said when Hartman came in that if Buckner got all upset that he wasn't going to be the starter because we brought in a transfer quarterback who happens to be, of a superior skill level. Yeah. And he wants to transfer, fine. That's his prerogative. And honestly, if you get all upset by the fact that a dude better than you is playing, you know what? You probably weren't the guy we really wanted anyway.
Yeah. Man, it's such a tough dynamic. I just have a hard time seeing Buckner starting at Alabama. I have a hard time conceptualizing that. And then having it actually go great if it happened. I have a hard time conceptualizing that too in the SEC. What am I missing?
Well, let me tell you what would be the funniest. No, actually, no, not funny. It would be like the most tragic outcome of all of this is like next year in the expanded playoff, we run into Bama in the first round, and then like they beat us. I don't even want to think about that. That would be like the absolute worst thing.
You know what it'd be, man? You know what? I would, me, I'd blow my stack But underneath it all, I would be happy for Buckner personally, because it would be a 5-year road to get him to that one win. And it was in Notre Dame Stadium, but just against us, not with us. Right? Or like if I don't know, man. I just can't. I want the guy to succeed, but the Alabama fit I struggle with. I get Reese's that connection, even personality-wise. Buckner and the Bama people, it's just a different way of life, man. Alabama living's a lot different than California growing, where he grew up. It's just going to be wild, and I want it to go well, but I want him to play. If you're going to do this and leave Notre Dame, I want the guy to actually play, or what are we doing?
Yeah. Oh, and that playoff comment, let me think of an additional point here. I mean, this might be the last thing I got time for is, a lot of people are saying that they think the expanded playoff is inherently like really good for Notre Dame, but I don't know if you know Tim Hyde. He gets on like
Blue and Gold
sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Blue and Gold.
Yeah.
And I agree with him that he thinks this actually makes it a little bit harder for Notre Dame because, like, yeah, we might be able to get an easier one of those 6 March slots, but then you got to win 4 games. Yeah, you got to win.
All right,
4 games
now wait
to win it,
bro. I have done these calculations in my brain. Like, I get it. Here's how I look at this. It's going to be easier to get in, but harder to win once you're in. And then if you go back to like 2012, almost impossible to get in, but then you have a better chance to win because you only got to play good in one game and you're the champion. I get what you're saying. It's an absolute give and a take. As far as access and then what you got to do. You're right, though. But wait, if Tim Hyde's going to say that, which I agree with, he also has to put in another calculation of all the years Notre Dame doesn't make it the old way, right? It's a very complicated calculation. Like in the BCS, you had to be 1 and 2 to even have a chance, not 12. So how do you make that calculation accounting for how much harder it was to make it before versus easier now, but you got to go on a big winning streak against top 10 teams? It's tough.
Yeah. And then I want to say just off the top of my head that if we had the 12-team playoff, from the beginning of the college football playoff in 2014, I want to say we only would have made it 2 other times, which would have been 21, right, when we went 11-1.
Yeah. And
then maybe 2015, when we ended up in New Year's 6 against Ohio State. I think that would have been the only other 2 years that we would have made it.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. And here's what you need to think about. I've been thinking about this too. I've been thinking about Notre Dame's depth as they're reshaping the roster. Think about that playoff grind of playing those good physical teams that made it that far that last month. You are going to have to be deep, and you're going to have to be able to run different guys out there because that is going to be a gauntlet. And the deepest teams are going to be the most likely to succeed through an extra month of football here. That is going to be a big part of this playoff thing. You're going to have some good teams, but they don't have depth, and they're going to get worn down early on. That's going to be a part of this too.
100%, John. Hey, John, I got to get going, man. But, hey, I really appreciate the call. Always love the channel. So, go Irish, man.
Really appreciate it. Give me a call again. Have a good weekend, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks, brother. Bye.
I'm going to tell you what, really unique roster of calls today. Really unique roster of calls. I really enjoyed it. I love new people calling. You never know what you're going to get. You never know what you're going to get. I love it. All right. Here's the deal. Don't do this to me, Brian Van Gorder. Don't start talking about the White Sox. I almost got through the show without having a stroke. Don't do it at the end. All right. Here's the deal. Terrific show. A lot of engagement. Really good callers. I like all of it. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put out a short video later tonight, something funny, lighten the mood. Tomorrow night, Always Irish After Dark, we're doing it again. Sometime tonight or tomorrow morning, I'll post the link in the advertisement showing what time or whatever. But we're going to have ourselves a good time tomorrow night. Crack a cold lid. I'm going to come up with a couple topics, maybe even something lighthearted, Notre Dame related, but lighthearted, maybe fit the Saturday night vibe. Yeah, exactly. Phil, I didn't pick it. Phil. Phil's asking, why do you pick the most stressful teams? Bro, I don't choose this stuff. It chooses me. Like, it just chooses me. And it's like the two teams I care the most about in life, Notre Dame football, White Sox baseball. And it's the reason why I'm going to need a wig before I'm 40 years old, is loving those two teams. I don't know what else to do, but that's where we're at. I'm going to have a fake rug. Somebody give me a hug because my teams never win anything. No, Pat's not going to be there tomorrow. And no, it's not because I'm boycotting him. He's traveling for work. So no, Pat will not be there. You're just going to have to deal with me tomorrow night. All right, people. Have a good weekend, and we will see you. He's not suspended. He's gone. And we'll see you tomorrow night. Stay tuned for something else I'm going to put out on YouTube tonight. Have a good one. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the donations, by the way. Have a good one.